Hey everybody, we're back with the Encyclopedia of the Ancient World, and we're going to be going a little bit more of the Egyptian culture, the ancient Egyptian culture, specifically and mostly talking about medicine and magic, okay? Medicine and magic, especially in ancient worlds, go hand in hand, okay? And even sometimes in today's world. But the Egyptians did have doctors, okay? They were highly respected throughout all of the Middle East. Sometimes they were summoned to treat foreign princesses, right? Other lands would call these Egyptians and say, hey, we need your doctor. We need this wisdom that you have. So, who were these doctors, okay? They were primarily fathers to sons, and the knowledge was passed from father to son to son to son. There were a very few schools for doctors, and they would receive a government salary. And there was different types of doctors, like we have today. They had general practitioners, right? Most of these doctors were that. They would just kind of take care of the everyday needs and things that happen. Then you had doctors who were specifically in the temples, and then you had army doctors as well. And these army doctors performed a lot more surgeries, as you would see, battle injuries and things. And they were kind of special consultants because they saw so much and did so much. Sometimes other parts would say, hey, we have this case that we need you to look at. So they would be there. And then you had some of the most skilled doctors, no matter where they came from, wound up at the royal courts. And that made sense too, right? As the royalty, the pharaohs would want the best that they had, and they would bring them to their courts. Where did they get their knowledge back then? Okay, a lot has changed and a lot has happened since then, but especially for ancient civilizations, the Egyptians had a lot of knowledge about the body. They knew that the heart pumped blood throughout the body and around the body. They had some understanding of the nervous system. They were very, very skilled at setting bones and broken bones. However, they also had some, you might call it bad knowledge. Things that we've since learned that weren't accurate. They thought water, air, and nerves all passed through the heart. They thought people thought with their hearts, and they thought the brain was absolutely useless. They discovered a lot of things through trial and error. They would find something and try it and use it as a treatment, and it would either work or not work. And then they would go make a note and, let's not do that again because so-and-so died, or, oh, that worked and he got better, so we'll, do that. They also knew the importance of a good diet, and they also found how hygiene was very important. The cleanliness is, extremely important, especially in a medical setting. And because they wanted to increase their knowledge and continually increase their knowledge, they would write a lot of things down. They basically had textbooks to help treat patients. These were knowledge that was continually written down and refined, and they would come across something they weren't sure, and they would actually look in these books and look for some type of diagnosis. They also had books on anatomy, on women's diseases, on dentistry, on surgeries, and veterinary sciences, because, again, remember, the animals were very important to their religion and for their gods. Through all of this trial and error and knowledge and passed down wisdom, they were able to come up with lots of different medicines and things. Medicines were made from plants and minerals. Sometimes they were made even from animals' parts. They were usually mixed with some type of water or beer or wine if it was a liquid so you could drink it, or even maybe a powder. And they also would sometimes mix it with an oil and apply it to the skin. And so they gained a lot of knowledge through that and a lot of treatment. However, remember, religion played a huge important role through all aspects of their society, and it also played a role in their medicine, okay? They believed that illnesses were caused by evil spirits, and they would pray to the gods, recited prayers over and over patients to try to heal them. If they couldn't treat them well, then they would turn, especially once the doctors couldn't treat you and they were struggling to find a cure for you. They, especially at that point, they would turn to religion or magic to try to fix things. Okay, they would turn for a solution. And so then you had these types of Egyptian doctors. Okay, surgeons who were considered healers. Priests were sometimes mixed with doctors, and then you would have pure magicians. Okay, the gods who they associated with healing were Thoth, Sephmet, Isis, and Imhotep. The temples, the patients were allowed to spend the night in the room next to the temple, and the gods would visit them in their dreams. So basically, they would take these sick people that they couldn't necessarily recover or struggling to recover. They would let them go to the temples, because remember, normally they weren't allowed at the temples, and they would let them sleep in there, and then hopefully the gods would come visit them in the dreams and either fix them, excuse me, or tell them what needed to happen. If none of that worked, everything else has failed, they called in the magicians. And these people would recite spells and dance around and perform all this weird ritualistic things for them. They used ivory wands and would draw circles around people for protection and different things. And it just was kind of odd. But that's what they believed, and they would eventually, hopefully, these people would get better, and they would believe it was because of the gods. One thing that kind of happened as a after effect with some of these medicines, some of the things that they did was some beauty care. Two things, I guess. One, because they realized hygiene was important, but also some of their salves and things that they used, they realized could help their skin and make it better. But Egyptians kept themselves very clean and paid a lot of attention to how they looked and the details of how they looked. They had cosmetics that were made from ground minerals and mixed oils, and particularly were fond of the eyeliner. Okay, they used malachite, which is a copper ore, and it was used to make green or gray, kind of a paint type thing, and they called it kel. And they used this to emphasize the beauty of the eye and cut down on sun glare. They also had lipstick and blush. And it was made with a kind of a red ochre type of clay that they would use. They had red-brown henna that was made from leaves of the henna tree and used to paint the nails and possibly some of the hands and feet. And they wanted to smell sweet. So part of their cleaning, they didn't necessarily have soap, but they would use oil and lime or perfume to kind of clean themselves with, and then use scented oils and perfume. So basically, even if they weren't clean, they didn't stink, right? So they used some of these perfumes were made from flowers and seeds and fruit soaked in oil and animals' feet and just different things there. So ultimately, what we find is that they had a lot of knowledge of medicine, but when that didn't work, they used magic. And their knowledge was things that they passed down from generation to generation through books and writings and sayings. And so we do learn that they had a greater knowledge of medicine and things than most ancient civilizations. Thanks.